Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Beau Frank, and I'm a 25-year-old painter based out of Pacific Grove here on the California coast. Today I'm talking to you about what it means to have a studio. Having a studio is a privilege. It's a gift bestowed upon the artist where you basically are given a space and you call this your studio, and within it you fill it with all your tools, your materials, your inspiration, proper lighting, and all these different components that allow you to pursue your creativity and to create those things that you love making. So each artist is different. Everyone has their own approach, their own way of setting up their little studio nook in a way that's conducive to their practice. And for me, it's been an ongoing challenge of several years to develop a space where I feel like it helps me get into the right mindset where I need to focus on the work, but still be playful and creative and have fun and not take it so seriously. Because in the end, this is something that needs to be interesting. There needs to be that challenging component as well. There has to be some kind of sense of dedication, determination, patience, understanding, and trust of the craft. But this is something that is very intuitive. It's something that's very internalized and introspective and a personal practice that eventually becomes something physical, which can then be shared and be much more collaborative and much more based around communication and getting to know other people that are interested in art, being able to showcase your art, or just having people come into your space and see, the things that you're making. So the studio can be a tabletop desk, it could be your lap, it could be your little journal, it could be a coffee shop, it could be a computer, it could be a drawing tablet, an iPad, your phone, it could be many things. For me, it's this room which did not used to look like this. It took a little while to get to this point where I felt like, yeah, this room is an extension of me. This room is a place that I feel safe, that I feel comfortable, that I feel confident pursuing my art. So what started out as a purple room with green trim and all this unnecessary furniture eventually got a full makeover, white walls, new lighting fixtures, rearranging the furniture in such a way where I have my place for painting. I also have my desk for doing more computer-based work, more marketing, more strategizing, emails, editing photos on the computer, putting together, packages and shipping supplies and all those things. And so each kind of place within this room has its own purpose. And this is the place where I paint. So I have a setup where sometimes I like to paint directly onto the wall. I attach the canvas to the wall, especially if it's a larger piece. I have a little small table right below it so that I can put all my paints, mix my paints. I can have my brushes close by. I have an extra lamp just in case I need more lighting. My computer is over to the right-hand side, and so that gives me a nice, beautiful reference point. So when I'm using images that I've either compiled, Photoshopped to my liking, or just my own personal photography, I can zoom in, zoom out. Sometimes I like to have my phone on me, and I have my phone as a secondary reference that I place directly on my easel. And the easel is right over here. So this is something that can be lifted up and down. I can change the height so that it's comfortable whether I'm standing or sitting down. I'm lazy, so I love sitting down. But sometimes I feel, I get itchy feet, and so it's time to just get back up, pace around the room, come back. And if I'm standing, I can step back and step forward. I also have a mirror directly in front of me behind me. So when I'm working, sometimes I like to look back, check out the mirror, see the reflection of my piece within it, and it gives me an idea of whether or not the proportions are looking good. I have this nice little IKEA furniture. This was a nice little cheap purchase, but all these drawers in here are filled with painting palettes, extra materials, supplies, little things that I use for sanding, taping, things like that. I got my painting box over on this side here, so I'll just kind of tilt it this way. So all these paints in here that are all my goods that I've been collecting over the years. I have larger paint brushes over in the corner. Sometimes I use those for either gessoing and prepping the canvas, but sometimes I actually use it for painting as well. And then on this side here, I have I have a little desk. You can't really see, but I have a desk here with my painting palettes. I have my turpentine, in a container so that the odors stay within it. So that way I'm not breathing in all those fumes. There's right below, there's my trash can so I can toss away things. I have some gesso, which is great for priming all my canvases. Sometimes they come already primed in the case of like these linen canvases that I get from Blick. So sometimes I paint on linen canvases because I like the flexible material. There's a little bit of a texture to it since it's kind of got that woven look to it. But for the majority of the time, the last 4 or 5 years, I've been primarily painting on wood panels. And so wood panels are great because they're so smooth. They're just like glass. And so when I prime it, I'm very careful to prime them in such a way that it doesn't leave any lines. And then that way when I paint, it's just a super slick, nice soft surface. And I can just gradually start building layers and then getting the look that I really want. So for instance, regarding those two materials for canvases, these little Belgian linen canvases, that's what I used for this piece in particular. The reason why I chose that was because I did a lot of turpentine pour overs. So turpentine or terpenoid, which is odorless paint thinner, I would mix it into these little cups with paint and they'd almost become watercolor. And having that watercolor, I would just do these pour overs. And so I let the paints or the diluted paints kind of flow over the canvas and I could tilt it around. And because it wasn't like wood, which was gessoed and not permeable, these could kind of just soak it into the canvas. It could fall through the little divots in the holes. It could pour over the edges. And after that, I added in some texture with my palette knife, gave it a little bit more of a 3D effect, and that was kind of a fun experimental project on that series of portraits. This panel over here is a tondo. It's a circle panel. Sometimes I like painting on those. Primarily the reason why I started doing that was I loved looking out this window at a property in Big Sur. It had a circle window, and so when you look out, it just kind of cropped the area that you're looking at. And I thought, that looks like a painting. Maybe I should paint that. So I started buying these circle panels and painting a lot of landscapes and sceneries. And I painted quite a bit of those circle panels, and they become this window collection that I've been doing. So this is a Big Sur piece. It's a little bit desaturated. This is the base coat, so it's kind of dried, so it's kind of gone soft in the colors. Once you start adding in more layers and the paint is wet, it deepens all those colors. Also, when you add in liquid, it adds more of a sheen to it. And then finally, when you're finished with the piece, you can go in with some varnish and it'll just add that nice clean sheen. I use Gamvar Gloss Picture Varnish because you don't have to wait 6 months to a year for the paints to cure. This allows you to have a temporary varnish as a substitute that just allows it to be ready to hang in the gallery space. And then once it's fully cured, you can go ahead, remove that varnish, and then apply a real varnish. I showed you briefly before, but these are paper palettes. Instead of having like a glass one where you have to kind of shave it off all the time, I got really lazy and also I broke mine. So I ended up using these paper palettes, and that way I can have multiple ones going at the same time. And I just saran wrap it every time I'm done finishing a session. And then each palette has a different piece that I'm working on, because sometimes I like to alternate and work on several pieces at the same time. The studio for me is my happy place. This is kind of, this is the room that I spend the most amount of time. It's a place that I come to for inspiration. It's a place I come to work on those projects that sometimes require days, if not weeks, sometimes months. It's a place that makes me want to paint more, makes me want to work harder, makes me want to see what the craft of painting with oils can do for me. And every time I make a breakthrough, I just kind of look around and I see this collection of pieces that I've been working on, and just wondering like, wow, like how did I get here? How did I get to a place where I found this, interest that was once upon a time just a curiosity? It's then developed into, an interest, which then developed into a hobby, which developed into a passion, and now into a career. So finding something like oils, there are so many little side steps that got to that point, and there's so many different studios that I explored to get to the place of having this space in particular. You know, I didn't used to think that I cared so much about aesthetics or about interior design or cared about lighting. But when I realized that this was something that I want to take seriously, that this was something that I truly cared about, it was time to invest. It was time to put some money down to, you know, make this room exactly the way that I wanted. And now this is a place that has resulted in the work, you know, the creation of so many paintings, so many works, some that are currently in progress, some that are currently being showcased in galleries, some that are being now showcased in people's homes, you know, pieces that have sold. So it's like the more effort, the more attention, the more love that's put into a craft, the more it comes back in return. And I feel like, especially when it comes from a place of self-discipline, the results are tenfold. And so I think if you're interested in creating a studio for yourself, whether it's just a small little place that you can call yours, I think every time you put on that, you know, that thinking cap, or every time that you put on that apron, or every time that you turn on that candle, turn on that light, set up all your materials, you're welcoming the muses to come spend time with you and say, hey, let's collaborate. Let's think about those ideas that you've been maybe putting on the shelf for too long, or let's open up those journals with all those creative dreams. Let's see if we can make those things happen. And so you, as the artist, are the conduit. You're the person that gets to take these ideas and make them a reality. And why not make it in a place like a little studio? So yeah. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Thank you so much for hanging out and listening in on this little YouTube video. Hopefully I'll be able to do more of these. I've been very lazy in the past, but I think it's time to turn it up a notch, get a little bit more attentive, and to really talk about subjects that, for me personally, I'm fascinated about, and maybe people actually like to listen to those things as well. But yeah, there's a lot of little things that I've been collecting over the years, a lot of different ideas, a lot of different approaches, techniques, things that are beneficial to the practice, things that are beneficial to the sales, to the marketing, things that I didn't understand until I was put in the middle of that and just figuring it out on my own. And every artist has their own approach. Every artist has their own style, their own medium, their own voice. And so for me, I'd love to connect with that voice. I'd love to connect with you, and hopefully I can do that through these videos. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being a part of my progress and my, you know, my practice and my career as an emerging artist. I'll be posting a lot more videos. You can find me here on YouTube, or otherwise you can find me on Instagram at BeauBFrank, or you can just check out my website at beaubernierfrank.com. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.